Hi, Jenny Walters, Apply to Face blog, and I'm baking a bloomer, a big bloomer. I love baking with yeast. It is hard to get hold of, but I got some, so I'm using it. Obviously I'm rocking Susie Quattro look. I'm feeling her, quite frankly, this morning in my kitchen. Let's rock this bread. Bread is really easy once you get the important things under control. For me, such a silly thing, but it took me about 6 months to understand what yeast I should be using. Now, I'm as ham-fisted as they come. I'm not technical. So I was baking bread and it was coming out like bricks. I just thought I was never going to be able to bake it. Kind of gave up, and then I just thought, I'm nailing this if it's the last thing I do. And I can't remember how, but I just realised that I was using the wrong yeast. So I was using this yeast that, I can't even remember what it's called now. But there's 2 types of fast action yeast. This is probably, I'm getting half this wrong. However, you want the dried fast action yeast. And it comes in packets, but mostly it comes in packets. 7-gram packets. Supermarket own, it kind of doesn't matter. But that made all the difference for me. And I've never looked back. I mean, I've really never looked back. I really get off on it, baking with yeast. I don't know why. It's something to do with the feel of it, that it just kind of plumps everything up in the most amazing, squishy way. My daughter feels the same about slime. I kind of think it's a touch thing. A bit weird, but hey. So, get the right yeast if you're a beginner baker. And I know that there's lots of other types of yeast. Fresh yeast looks like scrummy to use, but I haven't got the time at the minute or the inclination. This stuff, this dried fast action stuff, I'll just get it. It's like instant coffee or something, as in you just use it and woof, it goes. You don't have to use sugar with it. It's a wallop in the mix. Give it a whirl. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. Okay, so this is the stuff that I use. You can use any supermarket owned. I just happen to have got this. And this is Tesco's, and it's fast action dried yeast. So that's what you need to look for, fast action dried. And it usually comes in packets. Okay, so now the other important thing I've learned is I want a big one. I don't want to have, which is a little bit of what was happening before. It was kind of a medium-sized loaf. I've got a family of 4, and believe me, once you've baked it, everybody wants, it for the whole day. So it wasn't lasting really, and I wanted it for toast next morning because it's even, I think, is it even more delicious as toast? It's pretty special. So I use quite a bit of extra flour, and it means that the tin I use, which is a standard £2 tin, it does come over the top like it's an alien. So it's a bit of a weird shape, as in the top is like a big mushroom and then the bit that sits in the tin is a bit smaller. But it's just a bigger loaf. I haven't got a £3 tin, so it's not all about what it looks like. it doesn't need to be uniform. And it just tastes divine. Okay, it is, so here we go, this is it. Blink and you'll miss it. I have 600 grams of strong white bread flour in here, good to go. You can make this whole thing in a big mixing bowl, mix the dough together, and then knead it by hand for 5 minutes. I have this beauty, and I use it a lot with the dough hook. So that's what's going. That's 600 grams already in there. And then, as I said, my yeast, which is one of these packets, and I'm going to put it in the side because the next thing I'm going to use is some salt. Hold on. Now I like to use 9 grams of salt, and I do measure it out. Ooh, gone crazy. Boom. 9 grams of salt. I'm going to put it on the other side of the bowl, and then I'm going to put a teaspoon of sugar. You know, a bit of a heat one. Go home or go hard or go home. I haven't got my dough hook. It's not very good, is it? So wallop that in, and then you want 400 mils of tepid water. So I'm going to switch the dough hook on, but if you're in a mixing bowl, just mix it with a wooden spoon. Again, I have no power. Wallop. And then I'm just going to pour this in. That is it. Pour it in. Give it a little, don't do this. Really don't do this. I shouldn't have done that. Let it mix for about 5 minutes in here, and this will knead it. If you are using a wooden spoon, once the dough is together, sorry, I'll turn it down because it's rocking the whole thing. 3 to 4 minutes in there, or 45, whatever. I don't think it really matters. What you're looking for is, it needs to get smooth and elastic, and I'll show you what it looks like. It's all lumpy at first, like your thighs, and then it suddenly smooths out. And that means it's ready. Then you just everybody says a clean oil bowl. I don't. I just use that one. Tip some oil in. I've got sunflower oil here, about a tablespoon. Smoosh it round, coat the dough in it, and then cover. Put it somewhere warm and leave it. And usually within an hour, it's doubled in size, and I will show you that when it happens. So let's have a look at this. So it's not quite there yet, but you're probably losing the will to live. It's already getting nice and elastic, and you can see if you pull it, it is still got a lot of resistance. It's not very elastic. So I'm going to put that back in and do another couple of minutes. I'll switch you off and I'll be back. Okay, so I've mixed it some more, and I just thought I'd show you how to knead if you don't know, if you haven't got the whole freestanding mixer shebang. So it is really simple. Wallop. I don't put any oil or anything on if you've got a work surface, but if you want, you can put a bit of flour down, but don't put too much because it will dry it out. So you just rip, really. Do you see? So you rip it fold it back over and then push away, which rips it again. And it's that action, apparently, that stretches the gluten and gets it all elastic and smooth. And I can't ever be bothered to do it because I've got my dough hooked. I'll just switch it on and have a cup of tea. But this is, you know, a lot of people like to do it. So there we go. And it's really smooth and elastic, juicy. So that's it, job's a good one. So now, people say, I'll just, so you can see my head. People say stick it in a clean bowl. What? More washing up? Nah. I'll just put a tablespoon or even half a tablespoon, I just guess, in my bowl that I've mixed, which is pretty clean, but it's just around the edge. And then I stick this in and smoosh it in the oil like that, and then smoosh it a bit around the outside. Lovely. So I'm going to cover it and I'm going to put it somewhere warm. So a little bit of covering. You can use like a shower cap over the top. That's quite a good one. I'll keep forgetting to do that. So all I do is just put cling film over the top. And that's it. So about an hour, come back. So this is what it looks like in the bottom, and it'll come 3/4 of the way up this bowl. All right, tea in a bed. Hi, so we've done about an hour. I leave it really somewhere warm, as warm as you can get, and that will mean that the warmer it is, the quicker it'll puff up. So it may well take an hour and a half for you. It depends what little nook and cranny you can find that's warm. So here we go. Here she is. She's huge. She's huge. I show you, and then we're going to bash it down to knock the air out of it. Very satisfying. So here I'm going to take my cling film off and show you. There she is, look. Glorious, glorious. So loads of people do it in different ways. I just hoof it out onto the work surface. I haven't got anything on my work surface, so here we go. Look, I just pull it out. It comes out whole. It's coated in a bit of the oil. So can we do it so you can see? You can see here, can't you? So I am just going to squash the air out of it by kneading it again, really. And it's a bit like that bubble wrap. You can feel the bubbles, a lot of them popping underneath. Oh God, it's good. It's good. It's so good. Just roll it out. Keep turning it, flipping it back over, that kind of thing. Right, so that's it. So I've got my tin. Again, they tell you to oil it, you know, grease it. This is non-stick. I don't ever bother, and it never ever sticks. Suits me, sir. So that sound wicked. I'm going to roll it into a bit of a cigar shape. I'm going to tilt the camera down so you can see. This is very satisfying too, but don't worry if you don't get it perfect. It doesn't matter a whole heap. So, well, not much at all. So I just put my hands on and push it, and it just comes, and I just scoop the corners in, and then I'll pull it back towards me. So can you see you're getting a bit of a loaf shape? So I'll do it again, and it just means that it's pulled everything tight underneath. So there's my little loafage shape. and I'm going to put it carefully in my loaf tin. Wallop. That is it for now. So the bit of cling film that I used before, or you can get another bit, it should be a square, I don't know what's happened, but it'll still be fine. About half a teaspoon of oil on it. Just smoosh it, wallop, 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 wallop over the top, and just place it loosely over the bread. And I'm going to put it back in my warm nook for probably about 40 minutes, and it's going to rise like a huge thing. Okay, see you in a bit. Ooh. Okay, hi, so here it is. I'm going to take the top off, and I'm going to cut it across 3 slashes with my knife. Sharp knife, pain in the bum to have to sharpen your knife, but you do, otherwise if you hack at it, it will start to shrivel up. So you do need a sharp knife. Okay, so take it off. Look at that bad boy. It feels bouncy, so I'm going to go across one, open her up, 2, very gently and carefully. It's about the most technical bit really, I hate doing it. And then this another little slash here. Okay, and then you can see the air inside starts to hoof it up. Now I'm going to put it in the oven for about 40 minutes at 200 degrees. All right, I'll see you in a bit. So here she is, bronzed, burnished, beautiful big bloomer. Look at that bad boy. Little bit, you see what I mean? Just a bit kind of misshapen, but still beautiful. And more to the point, this will do sandwiches, loads of them, and then everyone can have a slice of toast for breakfast. So it's more than ample. So get it out. Woo-hoo. You're meant to tap its bottom. Can you hear? It's hollow. But do you know what? If it looks that brown on the sides and the bottom, it's going to be done. I mean, that was in my oven for 35 minutes. Now, a really important point is that some ovens lie. Most ovens lie. So I have a little titchy oven thermometer that tells me exactly what my temperature is. And I would advise getting one of those. They're cheap as chips, but they do make all the difference. Just so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to be like running down and looking, although that is quite a good thing to do, but just not as much as if your oven rises and keeps rising. So it could get to temperature after 15 minutes and you think that's great, but then stick your loaf in and come back and then and it's carried on going. Even if that's up by just 10 degrees Celsius, that's a lot, and that will make the outer bit of it burn. Same with cake. So if you just get it, then you can just keep an eye on it when you do look in the oven door. All right, so I will let that cool. You've got to put it on a wire rack, otherwise it gets a soggy bottom. And when wait for it to cool, because if you cut into it when it's still warm, it has a dampness in there that isn't great with sandwiches. So as hard as it is, I have to beat my kids off with a buttery stick because they go bonkers for it. It smells, my kitchen smells like Mary Poppins has just popped in for a cup of tea and a Battenberg. The other thing I was going to say is, oh God, what was it? Oh yeah, recipe is on my blog, Apply to Face blog. I am on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and this video will go onto Instagram. Alright, stay safe peeps. Until next time, farewell.